Hey guys, a little different look here. I'm actually in my office today and going to work the previous or the last two problems that I left off with in the previous video. So hopefully, the way that this ideally works is you've had a chance to sit down and try these, and you've got your answer, and now you're going to see how I would work these and see if we get the same answer, which would be really cool if that happens. Some of you may look at the problems and you still don't know how to do them, so you're waiting on me again to teach it to you. And that's fine right now, but keep in mind that as we get further along the semester, the responsibility is going to shift to you for obvious reasons. All right, number one's a hard problem. I'm not even going to sugarcoat it. But the first thing I would do in number one is I would get all the words into mathematical notation. And the first thing I see is that the break even point is when 500 units are sold. Well, guys, I know that the break even point by now, and you should know this too if you've been watching the videos, occurs when the revenue is equal to the cost. So if I think about this in generic terms, I know that the break even is when R of Q equals C of Q. And from the problem, I know that this happens when 500 units are sold. Now, can I find anything here that's going to help me out, okay? Well, I can take this cost function and expand on that part because after the comma it says the variable costs are 125 and the fixed costs are 10,000. So guys, this information tells me that C of Q, the cost function is going to be 125Q plus 10,000. And this C of 500 is important in the context of this problem because that's when the break-even point occurs. So I'm going to insert the 500 in for Q. So guys, this Q is 500 when we solve for C of 500. Now I've already done that, so what I did is I took 125 times 500, added the 10,000. I put this in parentheses because I'm kind of, when it comes to mathematical operations, I'm sorry, order of operations, because I guess I've been around the block and I realized that, if this is not treated this way, you can't get the wrong answer. So anyway, we get up 72,500. Now, what you need to think about this is kind of an intermediate step, but don't lose sight of the trees for the forest. We're still trying to work with this C of 5 or R of 500 equals C of 500. But what I know now is that R of 500 must be equal to what? 72,500. Well, guys, I know in general that, and I'm going to put this in a box because this is kind of an intermediate step. I know in general that R of Q is the price times the quantity. For example, if I'm selling golf clubs, you guys are going to get sick of golf clubs, and the two activities I really enjoy are scuba diving and golfing. So you're going to get really kind of sick probably of those two examples, but just bear with it, I guess. But anyway, if I'm selling golf clubs and I want to know my revenue for the day, I got to know the price at which I'm selling the golf clubs and how many I sold. So for example, if I'm selling golf clubs for $500 and I sold 10 that particular day, then I know R of 10, which is the revenue of 10 golf clubs produced, would be $5,000. So I can use that information to kind of help me now build up on this R of 500. Well, guys, I know that R of 500 has to be equal to the price that I sell at times 500, which I know has to be 72,500. So I know, therefore, that R of 500 has to be 72,500 because, again, of the conditions of the problem. So the only way that can happen is to find the price at which that makes a true statement. If I got a total 72,500 over 500 quantity, I can find the price at which those are sold just by simply division. So I'm going to divide the 72,500 divided by 500, and I get 145. So guys, that's the price at which the product is sold. So guys, I now know that my revenue function is 145Q. I know that my cost function, that's the ugliest Q in the history of Qs, is 125Q plus 10,000. All right, now we're ready to work the problem. What will the 501st unit sold contribute to profit? Well, guys, when I've got the revenue function and the cost function, I can easily create my profit function, because my profit function is the revenue function minus the cost function. My revenue function is 145Q minus C of Q, which is 125Q plus 10,000. Guys, remember, put the cost function in parentheses or brackets because that minus has to be distributed through to both terms of the cost function. If you don't do that, you're just going to get it wrong. So our profit function turns out to be 20Q minus 10,000. Well, guys, what is this called? That's called marginal profit. And marginal profit is the profit that we gain from each additional unit. So, guys, from 500, which way back here we said would be the break even, the additional unit produced, in other words, going from the 500 to the 501st unit produced, is going to increase the profit by $20. So guys, the answer to the first problem is $20. It's really easy, right? No, it's not. That's a tough problem. It's probably one of the tougher problems that you'll encounter the entire semester. Okay, number 2. This one's pretty much on the same same level, if you will. I think it's a little bit easier because it's much presented much more straightforwardly. A producer of DVDs is producing an instructional DVD. She estimates it will cost $90,000 to record the DVD, plus $5.10 per unit to copy and distribute it. It looks like that she intends to sell this DVD for $14.70. So how many must be sold to break even? Guys, again, break even is what? Where our revenue function is equal to our cost function. Our revenue function here, we don't have to do much work there because we see that the wholesale price is $14.70. So we can take the price at which it's sold times the number sold to get the revenue function. And our cost function is always the marginal cost plus the fixed cost. So we get a cost function of 5.10Q plus 90,000. Putting all of this back into this idea, we see that the revenue is 1470Q equals 5.10Q plus 90,000. Subtract 5.10Q from both sides. On the left side, we get what? 9.60Q, right? Yeah, equals 90,000. Okay, let's divide both sides by 9.60. I'm going to use my calculator here because I don't like to do that stuff otherwise. So we get, where'd the Q come from? 90,000 divided by 9.6. And we get 9375. DVDs. All right, so guys, you're going to have stuff like that on your next homework assignment, and I mean, you're going to have stuff like that on quizzes. You're going to have stuff like that on your final. You're going to have something like that on your midterm. Problems like number 2 especially aren't going to go away for a while. So, guys, that's it. Short video here. So enjoy these. Take care.